The project management canvas has been designed to help us understand the project management process. Initiation is the first step of the project management lifecycle, and it is in this phase where you need to determine the objectives and deliverables of your project. A deliverable is usually considered to be something tangible to be provided at a specified date and is part of the overall project. Initiation is often the shortest but a very important phase because you lay down the foundations of the project at this point. It is in this phase you will need to address the following issues. Is this a project? What is the problem that I need to solve? What do I need? And what are my options? Now let's see how we can make these questions a little more tangible. Start by clearly defining what a project is. In other words, decide on what the project requires you to do. Does it have a defined start and end date? Building a house, completing an academic thesis, or tiling a kitchen are all projects as measured by this criteria. Determine what the problem is that needs to be solved. Usually a project has come about as a result of a problem that has been identified. So if, for example, you are tiling a kitchen, the initial problem could be unattractive or chipped tiles that need to be removed before you can then lay the new ones. Consider the resources you need to undertake the project. This might include human resources, materials, equipment, and anything else you need to ensure you can complete the project within the set time frame. Take time to consider your options in undertaking the project. There are usually multiple ways to approach a project. Consider different options of achieving the same outcome. You may need to think about how you use or combine resources to complete the project. You can then set objectives to complete the task. When you have sufficient clarity regarding these issues, you will have a green light to move into the planning phase. Remember, good initiation prepares you for the planning phase of the project.
Let's take a closer look at the initiation phase of the project management lifecycle using one of our animated scenarios. You'll remember Anne, the events manager. Let's deal with the first question. Is this a project? In this scenario, Anne is planning a wedding for her clients. The bride and groom-to-be, who are her key stakeholders, have provided Anne with the objectives that need to be achieved, together with a number of deliverables. Moreover, there is a defined start and end date to have the project completed. Therefore, from the outset, Anne can definitively confirm that this is a project. The second question that she needs to consider is, what is the problem or the challenge? One of Anne's biggest challenges in this project is to make a memorable day for the couple without any issues within an 8-week period. In taking a closer look at what Anne needs to achieve, she will need to consider how she will go about coordinating all of the activities for this wedding event. The third question that needs to be dealt with is resourcing. That is, what do I need? Anne will need to consider all of the resources that she needs to get the project rolling. This will include human resources, suppliers, materials, and most importantly, time. The last question that needs to be addressed in this phase is, what are my options? Anne is an experienced events planner and therefore has various options to consider. Before proposing these options, Anne needs to be clear on what type of wedding the couple wants. She can then suggest different options on a range of venues, themes, flower arrangements, wedding cakes, and wedding dresses. Once she has explored all options, she can then move forward. The concept of exploring multiple options in the initiation phase of a project is to ensure that a range of possibilities has been considered. Too often, the default setting is returned to what is type of thinking, rather than going beyond what currently exists and thinking more innovatively about achieving project outcomes. So what is the benefit of spending time in this initiation phase of the project lifecycle? Well, if you don't have clarity in terms of who, what, when, where, why, and how of the project, and rush into the next phase, you will find yourself returning to initiation and rethinking all of your options, which will result in a waste of time, money, and resources. Having a clear overview or high-level plan allows you to move smoothly into the next phase of planning without leaving any value on the table. In the following video, you'll hear from Rob, a project manager who will talk us through his approach to project initiation.
When I am looking at initiating a project, I look at it from many perspectives. I look at it from the perspective of the organisation for which I'm delivering the project or working on the project, and I'm also looking at it from the perspective of the customer or the end user. I look at it in those ways because the organisation itself we consider as your internal customer, and then there's the obvious external customer. One of the many traps within executing a project is managing stakeholders. So right from the outset, one of the things I look at during the initiation phase is who are my stakeholders, both internal and external. So other things I'm looking for during the initiation phase is the scope of getting an understanding of the scope of work, the requirements, the robustness of the requirements, the clarity of the requirements. In my experience, there's been many projects where requirements have been poorly defined or not defined at all, and when you get into latter stages of the project and you have a realisation that, hey, perhaps the requirements were properly defined or were not delivering what the customer really wants, the effort to address that can be quite onerous. Other things I look for during the initiation is just to get an understanding of why we are here. What is this project really about? What are the objectives and the goals of the project? What is it that the organisation is seeking out of the project? What is the customer seeking out of the project? What is the time frame that the project needs to be executed? What is the available budget? What are the resource allocations? Collectively, there are many dimensions to the initiation of a project. And fundamentally, project success is established during initiation, which is probably, well, it is intuitive, but the importance of getting those fundamentals understood cannot be understated, and is fundamental to project success.